take your car. You know they got your car. Your one and only means of transportation. They got your kids' car seats in it.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. About this time, too, Josh starts to talk with the media. He also starts a very weird website, basically shit-talking Susan. Mm-hmm. They say that she was like mentally unstable, and that's why she left. They also try to say that she ran away with a man by the name of Stephen, I think it's Kocher. He also went missing the same week as her. They didn't know each other. The only thing they had in common was that they were both Mormon. But Stephen and Josh try to say that they ran away together to Brazil. Mm-hmm. How would you know that?
Yeah.
They didn't know each other.
Well, what evidence do you have that that's where they went? It's so specific. I mean,
it's very specific.
Not like, they went to Rio or, that they even knew the country that they left for, Brazil.
Right.
I mean, but do they even know Portuguese?
Right? I don't know. I mean, I think missionary work is big with Mormons, so there's a good possibility that maybe.
Or there's a possibility that this motherfucker's lying.
I think it's more like it. Yeah, the website claims that Susan was like mentally ill, and friends and family are like, she never would have left those boys.
So this is his website is basically his PR assault.
Exactly.
On this whole thing.
It really is. It's no longer up, but I was able to get through it through Reddit, so I could look at every page.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Once you put something on the internet does not forget. Even if the website's taken down, there will be a remnants of it somewhere. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah, no. Don't ever put shit on the internet that you don't want there in 20 years.
Because the interwebs always remember.
Yes, and people will find that. So after looking at that, I just was disgusted. I couldn't even look through most of it because it's so weird. Josh talks about himself in the third person.
Of course.
But it's very well known that he did this website. Mm-hmm. It's creepy. So by February 15th, he has completely liquidated all of Susan's accounts. Mm-hmm. So here we go with the money. He also tried to get into a safe deposit box that she had, but he didn't know that the police had already found the key to that and gotten that. So they found in there a video that she filmed in July of 2008 and a handwritten will. And she states that if anything happens to her, that Josh would be the one to look at. Mm-hmm. The video was done at the suggestion of a divorce lawyer that she had seen. Mm-hmm. Basically, she was told, catalog all of the belongings. So in it, she shows all the computer parts all over the place, expensive toys like RC cars, computer games, video games, shit ton of tools, and then how much of a hoarder he had become. So there was like 5-gallon buckets of wheat, red raw wheat.
Okay.
For Armageddon. I don't know.
That wouldn't be my go-to food, but okay.
Whatever. You got to make bread, right? That's how you make it?
Sure.
Grind that wheat. So he also files a restraining order against Susan's parents, and they really want to see their grandsons, but the tensions are high, and they're not getting any access to them. By August of 2010, West Valley Police have spent over 6,000 man-hours trying to comb areas of the desert. There's just no leads, and things go silent for about a year. And then in 2011, in August of 2011... the Cox family has and that's Susan's family, her last name was Cox. They have a honk and wave in their community to try to get attention back on the case and see if anybody has new info. This is where the documentary was that I saw.
Oh, on TV?
On TV.
Okay.
So they're doing this honk and wave. There's people standing out with signs on the corner of the intersection in front of the gas station. Uh-huh. And they're just out there peacefully honk and wave, right? Wow. Susan Powell shows up, and he, in front of the media, starts saying all these bullshit things about how Susan was, trying to get away from her parents because they were abusive, and he is talking about how he has access to her private journals. Mm-hmm. And that they know that she was mentally ill and that she was trying to run off with this guy. And why are they doing this anyways? Because Josh has a restraining order against them, and they know that Josh shops at this grocery store.
Yeah.
So then here comes Josh. Drives up. Why the fuck are you there when you know you have a restraining order on these people?
Well, because now that he's there, he can make them move. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, he tries to give some sob story. I don't buy it. I'm sure nobody else did either. So here's where shit gets really weird. Susan Powell gave the police the best clue unwittingly. He talks about the journals that Susan had.
You done fucked up now.
Right. So what do? They request a search warrant for his house to look for those journals.
Nice.
And on August 25th, 2011, they find more than anybody could have dreamed. So they discover that Stephen was obsessed with Susan. He had written love songs about her, written documents describing his masturbating while thinking about her. They find disgusting things such as her underwear, used tampons, used cotton balls with removed nail polish on them. They're all in separate individual Ziploc bags with dates on them that he had been collecting while Susan and Josh lived with him at the beginning of their marriage.
I mean, I can't say I'm not surprised now.
Right.
No, I'm just dumbfounded at this point. I have no words.
I wasn't expecting it. I'm not going to lie. He was a creep, and he certainly was a know-it-all, but I didn't expect that. Unfortunately, what they also find is that he had been secretly taking photos and video of her around the house, stalking some of them naked while she was in the restroom. Mm-hmm. He would cut pictures of her head and put them on other women's bodies. Okay. They do find the journals that Stephen claimed he had, but instead of her talking about how she feared her family and she was in love with him, because Stephen had a thing for her, they talk about how Stephen creeped her out and she found out that he was stalking her. Uh-oh. Yeah. Then there's more. They find that Stephen is the biggest perv and likes to watch little girls that live next door to him.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No. Oh. He has photos of them and some child porn. Yeah. Yeah. So he would take pictures of them. On September 22nd, he was arrested on charges of child pornography and voyeurism. And due to this, Susan's parents were able to get temporary custody of the two boys because Josh and the kids were living with Stephen at the time.
Oh, okay. Good for them.
So meanwhile, police in Salt Lake City had received a couple of tips on Josh. One was that a year prior to Susan going missing, he was overheard saying that a good place to dump a body was down a mine shaft. And that it was because it was too dangerous for police to search for it there, and they would never find anything. Okay. So obviously he had some... Why would you think that? Why would you know that? Why would you discuss that openly? Yeah. Yeah. Police also finally start cracking into the encrypted hard drives. So this is 2011. She disappeared in 2009. It took them 2 years.
That's some good encryption.
It really was. They find a shit ton of pornography of various types. So like father, like son. Yeah. Also, there's search history showing Topaz Mountain. Oh. So they go out to that area with cadaver dogs, and they find a place where something was burned. And it's possibly a body, but at this point it's been 2 years in the elements. They send pieces out to a DNA lab, but it's inconclusive. Oh. So they're back at fucking square one.
But, I mean, even if it isn't her, it could have been someone else. That's just sad.
I mean, it could have been, and that's what's sad is they can't know. They just can't know what it was or is or could have been. It's very sad.
CSI lied to me.
Right? You can't find everybody. Another tip is made to the West Valley Police from actually another law enforcement entity in Colorado. They tell police officers to start looking into Josh's brother, Michael. So apparently he had requested a satellite image to verify that a car he had left at a junkyard to salvage was actually destroyed. Police can't verify his whereabouts when Susan disappeared. And the odd thing about this car is that there was nothing wrong with it. It was a newer car. It was in good condition. And he paid them to take it. So the police find this highly suspicious. So luckily for them, the car wasn't destroyed. They go and take it. They get it back to Utah. Cadaver dogs find traces of a body in the trunk. So they check for blood and anything else. And basically they suspect that Michael helped Josh find a dump area for Susan's body. On the way back into Washington, Michael sells the car to the junkyard to get rid of the evidence. Police find him in Minnesota, question him, but he plays it cool, acts like he's going to cooperate. Then they tell him they have the car, and he does a Josh. He shuts down and stops cooperating, and his demeanor completely changes. Unfortunately, they have nothing to connect him to Susan, and they have to let him go because the DNA taken from under the carpet in the trunk is not a match for her.
Again, it's someone else. That sucks.
Yeah. In 2012, Josh starts fighting to get custody of his kids back. They've been with the Cox family since Stephen was arrested as a temporary arrangement. Stephen, at that point, is now in jail, serving time on his 2 counts of child porn and voyeurism. And Josh has moved to a house in Graham. On February 1st of 2012, there's a custody hearing, and Josh states the kids should be with him. He hasn't harmed them, and he hasn't put them in any danger. So obviously he didn't consider his dad a danger. So the judge says you can't have your kids back yet. They tell him they want to do like a psychosexual evaluation and have a competency evaluation. After those things are done, it's decided he can have supervised visitation with the kids. So Susan's parents are, they just think it's a horrible idea. He is still considered the only person of interest in Susan's disappearance. He hasn't been helpful at all in the search. And then there was Stephen's, wacky involvement with everything. Yeah. And they're trying to fight it. And then here's where it gets fucked up. So on
what do
February,
you mean, this?
After all of this, there's worse.
Okay. Oh.
So on February 5th of 2012, Josh is supposed to have his first supervised visit with the boys. Just before noon, a social worker assigned to the case pulls up to Josh's house in Graham for the visit. The kids get out of the car really fast. Josh is waiting on the porch for them, and they run ahead without the social worker. Josh quickly gets them in the house and locks her out.
Nice.
She's pounding on the door, and he won't let her in. And she can hear things. She calls the local sheriff's office, and they basically blow her off, saying it's not an emergency. And, it's not life-threatening. Somebody will be out when they can. Then she hears one of the boys cry out, and she panics. Then she starts to smell gasoline.
Oh, no.
So she calls 911 again. She moves her car out of the driveway, and she tells them, you've got to get out here now. Like, this is a big deal. Get out here now. Yeah. Before she can barely even finish the sentence, the house blows up.
Oh, shit.
And unfortunately, it's confirmed that Josh and the 2 boys died in that fire. The house just burns.
That sucks.
It's incredibly sad. And I wasn't expecting it.
No, that's just horrible. That's heart-wrenching.
Yes,
right there.
It is. And there are a lot of, you could point blame, I guess, is the thing. You could place blame, the sheriffs didn't take this social worker seriously. That judge should never have allowed him visitation outside of a visitation center. He should not have been allowed to take those kids to his house.
No.
There's so many things that you could say of where was the breakdown? Who had these kids' interest in their heart? Who was looking out for these kids? Why was he even allowed to even entertain the notion of supervised visits? He's the only suspect in a disappearance for the mom that's still missing.
Yeah.
Why would you give him supervised visits in his house? I don't care what his psychoanalysis said.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting because it could have been stopped.
Yeah.
It could have been prevented.
Yeah.
And it's very